Hi everyone. I just wanted to give a quick response to the poll questions that you asked me at the bottom of our class polling, and I also wanted to give you a couple of quick reminders for the upcoming week. I'm going to keep doing this because I wrote all the questions you asked up on a whiteboard here, so if that seems a little weird, sorry. As for the class this week, so there's two things I wanted to say. The first is that I will be having online office hours. I was doing that on Mondays from 1 to 3. That will mean that I will have a Google chat set up, and all you'll need to do is give me your email, and you can come right on. We can chat anytime for between 1 and 3 on Mondays. I probably won't do it today, but I'll set it up for next week for sure. The second thing I wanted to explain real quick is how we go from Tuesday to Tuesday. I know I've said this a couple of times, but in the beginning it helps to repeat it a lot. You'll eventually get the hang of it. So all class content that I'm asking you to do assignments will be due on Tuesday evening by midnight. That means that it'll be recorded when you upload it to Dropbox or to take a quiz or whatever it happens to be that week. If you're late and it's half an hour late, I'm not super crazy about such things. But if it's a day late or 2 days late or a week late, then you'll lose some points accordingly. But I am happy to take late work usually. As we get towards the end of the semester, I'm a little more strict. But for the first half or so, if you need to do something a little late, it's always better to do it than to not do it. If you have any questions, of course, text me. So remember, Tuesday to Tuesday. The content for the following week, the new content every week, will be posted on Wednesday. So you'll hand things in by Tuesday, sometime on Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday evening. I'll post the following week's content that will be due the following Tuesday. Hopefully all that makes sense. If you have any problems, let me know. So I'm going to start looking up here and answering some of your questions. I think I'll start with the large philosophy questions. There were several questions about philosophy. The most important question probably is, why philosophy? That's a weird thing to study, of course. Why did I take philosophy? As a young kid, I had a math tutor. I was working on improving some scores for a class. I had a math tutor who happened to be a philosophy teacher at a local school. And I was young, maybe a sophomore or junior. And he really started me thinking about philosophy. At the same time, I started reading Walden, Henry David Thoreau's book Walden. If you're interested, let me know. We can talk about it. It's a really great book. There's a lot in there. There's a lot on nature. There's a lot on how economics functions. There's a lot on what should be important to people in life. And as a young kid, I was a little odd. I was a huge jock, but at the same time, I was a bit of a book nerd. So I mixed these two things that don't mix all the time together. And so at a pretty early age, I got interested in philosophy. Then I went and did a bunch of other things. I went in the military. I moved to Pennsylvania. I was a truck driver for a couple of years, did heating and air conditioning, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I did a lot of other things, but all along I was still interested in philosophy. So when I started to go back to school, I started out in community college for about a year. I right from the beginning knew this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to go back for philosophy. And growing out of that was ethics. So a couple of the questions you asked me is, what's my favorite branch of philosophy? If you don't know, there are a bunch of branches: epistemology, metaphysics, ethics, aesthetics. My favorite is probably ethics. As you'll see as we go forward, what I mean by ethics is applied ethics. What that means are things like business ethics, nursing ethics, medical ethics, environmental ethics, which I teach at another school, and of course ethics here at Parkland. And I really love it. I love teaching. I love doing ethics. I love struggling with all those things that no one wants to talk about at, say, the Thanksgiving dinner, where don't talk about religion, don't talk about race, don't talk about gender, and no one wants to bring them up. I like to bring them up. I really think it's important that we talk about all the problems we have as much as we can. And so that leads into how I teach the class. So that was one of the next questions. So my large-scale pedagogy for the class is to combine content, ethical content, with applying that content to real-world things. Some of which later on you'll get to pick yourself. I won't pick them all. We'll use the polling that I asked you a bunch of questions on what topics you were interested in, and even towards a little bit after halfway through, you'll pick your own topics, which was another one of the questions. So yes, you will get to pick your own topics. And so my large-scale framework for the class is that I try to give you the basics of ethics. So if you go on to other philosophy classes and you say, I took ethics, professors are going to expect you to know certain basic things. You will learn those here. Also, you will, time after time, 8 or 10 times during a semester, practice applying ethics and your own ethics and the philosopher's ethics will learn to very, very difficult problems. And so by the combination of learning the content and learning to apply the content, I think you can really start to think yourself more what is important to you, what's important in a society, how do we work together, how do we live together, what the heck even is ethics, these types of things. And so that's the large-scale frame of the class. For some of the smaller points you asked about the class, no, there will be no giant papers. If by giant or big papers you mean 10 or 15 pages, no. There will be a number of shorter pages, papers that I'll ask you probably 2 to 3 pages, something like that. And they're going to be five short papers. The first couple will only be 2 pages. They'll get a little longer as we go forward. I'd like to have around 20 pages of writing total per semester, if you include assessments and the other things. So there is some writing. Now, if you happen to be the person that likes to write, later on when we pick our own topics, you can do a much longer research paper if you're interested in that type of thing. When we get to it, I'll explain that in more detail. So yes, you do pick projects. No, there'll be no big papers. Now, as for online versus in-person classes, it's crazy to deny that they're quite different. They're very different. But as you hopefully can already see, I'm trying to create a more direct connection with the students, even in an online class. I try to get you to text me, try to make videos every week. Most weeks, a few weeks we won't have them, but most weeks I'll make a short video. And I will also many times try to get you to contact me, and we can set up a dialogue. And I have office hours, online office hours, and to follow one of the other questions, if you need to meet in person, we can absolutely do that at Parkland. We just need to set it up, that's all. And so, yes, there is a difference. I really like them both. The good parts about an online class is I could be in Paris right now, parle français, and it would be not a problem. I could be teaching this class. I have actually taught the class from the woods. Probably within a week or two, I'll be out in southern Illinois in one of the wilderness areas. But I have 4G at the spot where I'm going. I've been there before, even though it's in the wilderness, and I can teach the class out there on my tablet and phone. So there are good parts for me about that, and they're good for you too. You could be anywhere taking this class, literally almost anywhere in the world with a good Wi-Fi connection. Now you do miss some things by not having the in-person class. You know, we actually get to talk person to person. So they are different, but I wouldn't say that online is horrible, and I wouldn't say in-person is the best or the worst or anything like that. They're both just very different. All right, what did I miss here? Okay, obstacle courses. That's a weird question. I'm not sure why you asked me that, but I've never done one of the new version of the Tough Mudders or anything like that. I do find them interesting. Probably would like to do it. It would be fun, but I probably wouldn't. My idea of fun, it's something like an obstacle course, is going out in the woods for a few days, doing 10 or 15 miles per day with a pack in the woods or in a mountain or a wilderness area, or going canoeing for a week or something like that. Way back when I was young, I was in the military. I went to the Army Infantry School, and of course I did obstacle courses there for the military, but nothing recent, no. What else do we have? The haunted house question. So I do add that as a bit of a control. I've asked it of every class I've had for 5 or 6 years now. And I use it to just measure over time, first of all, how do people read a question? Because it's kind of a weird question with no haunted houses don't exist, which usually about 13 to 15% of people will say that. It does give some indirect indication what people think about the supernatural, because if you say yes, that must mean you think haunted houses might be real. If you say no, you might be scared and think haunted houses are real. But if you say no, there's no such thing, it might give an indication of your view on the supernatural, but that's not my main goal. I just try to have a couple fun questions and a little bit of an investigation on my part, but mostly just for fun. And finally, do I like ethics? I actually love ethics class. I really think it's super fun. I left other jobs to come to this job. I went back to school for years and years to get a PhD on purpose because I wanted to do philosophy and I wanted to do ethics. And it's going to sound a little corny, but the reason is I really do think you can change the world in front of a classroom. If you can get 1 or 2 people to think more clearly or more broadly or more inclusively about the world, as a teacher, you've really actually changed the world because that one person will affect people. And when they affect those people, it'll affect more people. And so one person really can have an effect. And so when I went back for a job, I went to ethics and I went to philosophy on purpose because I really do want to change the world. Remember, as always, if you have any questions, easiest, fastest way, text me up. You can also stalk me on Instagram or whatever, I don't care. You can check out the Facebook page, the class Facebook page. You can email me, of course, any other way. And remember, not this Monday today, but the next Monday, the online office hours will start, and you're welcome to stop by and chat. And if you have anything else, let me know.